Have you guys heard of the Diderot effect? No? I'm sure you've seen this meme though. Yeah, in today's video, despite threats of violence I've received from several cyclists, I'm going to tell you just how much money you can actually spend when you get really into cycling. And you'll see where the Diderot effect fits in. I love cycling. I've been cycling for 6 years and I want you to guess how much money I've spent and let me know at the end of this video. Now, let me take you through my cycling journey. Here's the bike I started with. It's a Hercules Neo Hybrid that I bought used for 11,000 bucks. I bought this helmet and a couple of basic jerseys. At this time, I was just doing about 10-kilometer rides around my neighborhood. Expenses were pretty low at this point, under 14,000 bucks for everything. Now, when I asked stores for cycling shorts, they'd give me Lycra. And I'd laugh and say, oh, no. I'm not that kind of cyclist. I wouldn't be caught dead wearing those.
Several months later.
So, how the hell did I get to this stage in just 3 months of cycling? We holidayed in Mallorca, the mecca of cycling. We went on a few beautiful rides along the coast, rode up to castles, and I saw fancy schmancy bikes everywhere. I was hooked. I almost bought a bike on our return trip. So now I needed a proper bike. I bought my Scott Subcross 20 for 51,000 rupees. This bike is a cross hybrid which allowed me to go on dozens of adventures, both on-road and off-road. Really set the foundation for the type of cyclist I've become today. In a later video, I'll tell you how I got lucky because I bought this bike entirely by accident. A big purchase was my bone conduction headphones, which I really can't ride without. My weekend rides were at least 50 kilometers long. I rode up all the local climbs and in my first and only 200 kilometer BRM. In 6 months, I had ridden nearly 3,000 kilometers. First big set of expenses, and our total is sitting pretty close to 1 lakh. So, 2018, I was still riding the new bike high and I decided it was time for some upgrades. I got clipless pedals and cycling shoes, got a dropper post for off-roading and a special noseless saddle to keep my family jewels from going numb on long rides. On the apparel front, I bought a new helmet, my first premium jersey, and a whole bunch of cheaper jerseys and fake Oakleys. This should give you some insight into how I was spending at this time. On a bike that cost 50,000 bucks, I spent almost the same amount on components. But when it came to apparel, I was scouring AliExpress because 1,000 bucks was all I was willing to spend on jerseys and sunglasses. Anyhow, this is the year I rode the most, 3,700 kilometers. I spent about 50,000 and our total is still under 1.5 lakhs. In 2019, I managed to snag a sparingly used Wahoo Element from the US for half of what it would cost here. I bought a pair of real Oakley glasses because the fake ones were crap, and several MTB jerseys and shorts. I paid 50% customs duty on new tires for my bike. This is the year in which my initial interest in cycling somewhat waned. But I kept buying new stuff to keep things exciting. My purchases totaled 40,000 rupees. Overall, we are now at 1.8 lakhs. Okay, so we all know what happened in 2020. I decided to be a good boy and stay home during the lockdowns. I sorely missed cycling, but I did manage to get a used fluid trainer somehow, and I did a fair bit of cycling at home. We've just crossed 2 lakhs in expenses. After the lockdown, I was really keen on getting a gravel bike. But thanks to the massive bike shortage, I really couldn't find anything. I decided to get a road bike instead, and I bought the first roadie I could find in my size. A 2-year-old Scott Speedster 10 for 75,000 rupees. In 2,000 kilometers, it needed new tires, a new chain, and a new cassette. I cycled through 2 stems and installed shorter 165mm cranks. So over the past 2 years, I spent over 31,000 bucks just on components for this bike. Now we come to the Diderot effect. This is a scenario where a single purchase leads to a spiral of consumption, often stuff you don't really need just because what you already have isn't quite at the same level as your new possession. I was a road biker now, a member of the elite. Yeah, even with my relatively cheap, well-loved road bike. I spent over 7,000 bucks on a jersey that I still can't get into, over 3,000 bucks on a pair of gloves, bib shorts in these subtle I'm better than you colors, new gravel shoes. This is a distinct difference from my previous phases when I couldn't bear to spend much more than even 1,000 bucks on a jersey. So I spent an unbelievable 37,000 in apparel and 12,000 in accessories. This was over a 2-year period though, so it's not that bad. I was riding more trails and now I wanted a proper MTB. So I jumped on a great deal I found on a used Trek Excalibur 9 which cost me 78,000 rupees. I also bought a retractable tow rope that I can use to tow my son up on climbs when we go mountain biking together. Finally, if you've ever used a trunk mounted car rack, you know it sucks and it's next to impossible to get 3 bikes on it. So I bought the Thule roof rack with 1 mount for carbon bikes and 2 mounts for regular bikes. This setup set me back 70,000 bucks. I have a love-hate relationship with it, so watch out for a video covering this soon. So in this 2-year period, I spent 3.2 lakhs, 60% more than I spent in the 4 years prior to that. Did I ride more? Did I have some crazy adventures with the new bikes? Well, actually not. I rode just over 3,000 kilometers in 2021, and I will say 2022 was looking like it would be my best year on the bike, but knee surgery KO'd that plan. A video for another time. Now I was supposed to record this video last month, but I couldn't find the time, and in the meanwhile I got a great deal on a bike I had been lusting after for a long time. I bought my first carbon bike, a Trek Domane SL5, brand new for a change, for 2.5 lakhs. I bought this not to go faster, but to be more comfortable on long rides and to have a road bike that I could basically ride anywhere without worrying. Continuing with a now seriously advanced case of the Diderot effect, I bought a bottle cage for 2,500 bucks just because it had the same color scheme the bike did. Hopefully, this bike is my last major purchase, but I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you.
Are you buying another bike?
No. I was saying this is the last bike I'm going to buy. This is how these expenses break down by category. Sort of unbelievable that I spent 87,000 rupees on apparel, but beyond jerseys and shorts, apparel does include helmets, sunglasses, and shoes, so perhaps it's not that hard to believe. Biggest expense, unsurprisingly, are the bikes themselves, at 4.6 lakhs, with the most recent bike costing more than all the bikes that came before it combined. If I had bought all those bikes new though, this total would have increased by about 50 to 75,000 rupees. Our grand total is 7.92 lakhs, or at today's dollar rate, just under $10,000. Let me know how close you were to this figure in the comments. I'm really keen to know. This figure does not include the cost of servicing, the cost of tubes, lubes, chains, and smaller components that I had to replace. I never kept track of them, so the actual total is a wee bit higher. Just to be clear, you definitely do not need to spend this much money to have a great time on your bike. This just happened to be my path. Now, if you start waxing your chain, you might save enough money to buy a new bike, just like I did. Just kidding. Of course, it won't help, but you will at least benefit from an immaculate, efficient drivetrain. If you made the mistake of letting your SO watch this video and you're still into cycling in a year or so, do come back for part 2 of this multi-part series. Ride safe.